This probably won't be a surprise to anyone, but I praise, nay, worship Across the Spider-Verse. When I first saw Into the Spider-Verse, I was amazed, more with the animation and less with the story, that it was still a great film. However, Across the Spider-Verse was not only a big step in animation, but a humongous leap in story, as the best sequels, in my opinion, all have great cliffhangers. Seriously, I haven't seen a great cliffhanger since Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. Say what you will about that movie, but I think the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy is the best trilogy of all movies. But I digress. What up, everyone? JT Anime and Nerd here, coming at you, bringing you all that nerdy goodness. And today, I'm here to talk about what I think we should expect from Beyond the Spider-Verse, as well as what I believe will happen in that movie pertaining to the characters and multiversal events. So, without further ado, let's begin. I also need to say, spoilers ahead for Into and Across the Spider-Verse. Let's start off with our main character, Miles Morales, and explain how I think his story will go using the Act 1 through 3 system that movies typically use for their story structure. I firmly believe Act 1 of Miles' story will be him attempting to find a way out of Earth 42, as seen at the end of Across the Spider-Verse, while also alluding to his Earth 42 counterpart, who is Earth's 42 version of the Prowler. I'm very confident that he and his uncle will care deeply about Miles' Earth 42 father. But instead of instilling responsibility in Earth 42 Miles, it instead instilled hatred within him, possibly driving him to become the Prowler via his uncle Aaron's mentorship. What I do think Earth 42 Miles' story will revolve the most around is the revelation that if not for our Miles' interference, then he could have had a chance to save his father. This will probably create more tension between Miles and Earth 42 Miles, leading them to continuously butt heads so long as our Miles is in Earth 42, which of course will start with him escaping as teased at the end of Across the Spider-Verse's cliffhanger. As for Act 2 of Miles' story, I think it'll take place not just after Gwen and the Web Warriors save him, but will also revolve around him being chased by not only Miguel O'Hara, but also Earth 42 Miles. This could be the point in the movie where the two could finally start to understand each other, as the two Mileses no doubt just want to protect the people they love, just on different sides of the law and moral compass, kinda. As for Act 3 of Miles' story, I truly think Earth 42 Miles will decide to pin his hopes on Prime Miles and help save his father, something Earth 42 Miles couldn't do in his universe. I also think this will be shown in the form of Earth 42 Miles attempting to keep Spider-Man 2099 at bay, while the main Miles deals with saving his father. In the finale of Miles' story, I believe that being the anomaly that Spider-Man and 2099 mentioned will be the reason he can stop the canon event and spray events from breaking and destroying and destroying many other universes. But that in truth is something not even I'm sure how the writers are going to tackle, but I just know that we're going to be in for an incredible surprise. Now let's get into Spider-Gwen's story, as I'm confident Act 1 of her character arc will be how to function as a leader to the Web Warriors, whilst also searching for Miles throughout the multiverse. Even with Spider-Bite in the team, I don't think they'll enter Earth 42 right away. So I think it'll take some time, giving Miles time to deal with his problems with Earth 42 Miles. Act 2 of Gwen's story, I believe, will focus on both her attempts at trying to regain Miles' trust and build up her romantic feelings toward Miles. So far, we've only seen that Miles has the hots for Gwen, but not the other way around. So I'm pretty confident Gwen's half of the story will revolve around her trying to make amends and eventually fall for Miles, especially since the majority of her story arc was told in Across the Spider-Verse. As for Act 3 of her story, I can only see her as the one who convinces Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, to not follow Miguel O'Hara's orders anymore, getting Jessica to realize the error of her and Miguel's ways, as was teased near the end of Across the Spider-Verse. When it comes to the other Spider characters, I don't really expect much other than and they must have essential or comedic roles in Beyond the Spider-Verse. I expect Spider-Punk to be as cool as he was in Across the Spider-Verse. I expect Spider-Man India to be as funny as he was in Across the Spider-Verse. I expect Spider-Bike to act as the navigator of the team with any Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Ham kind of being the muscle of the team, as well as Peter Parker Spider-Man just being an annoying kind of terrible father. Now, don't even get me started as to why Peter would keep bringing his daughter Mayday on these life risking missions. Because if Mayday doesn't have an essential role in Beyond the Spider-Verse, then I've got many harsh words to say to Peter. And I'm not even a father, it's just common sense. But now let's go over to the character arc of Jessica Drew, who we all know as Spider-Woman in Across the Spider-Verse. I believe Act 1 of her character arc will be trying to steer Miguel to maybe reconsider his priorities, to which he will aggressively refuse. Act 2 of her arc, I believe, will revolve around her inner conflict as to what she's been doing is even right, but still stands by Miguel as she uses the protection of her baby as justification for following his lead. Act 3, I believe, will be the moment Jessica feels that she has to betray Miguel and help Miles and Gwen, as it'll be at this point that Miguel begins to go off the deep end. And in the end, Jessica begins to ask herself what's the point in being a hero if she cannot be an example for her own child. By the end of the film, I expect to see the newborn baby as part of the happy ending, if there is one in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Now I want to talk about the Spot, to which I honestly don't expect to see too much of him in the film since so much else is going on. I either expect him to be killed or captured by the heroes of the film, so there's not much I can really predict for him since he's just a villain trying to prove that he can be better than the rest. What I can say is that I expect him to be less funny as he was in Across the Spider-Verse because now that he's powered up, he needs to be more menacing than funny. Finally, we come to who I honestly see as the true primary antagonist of the film, or at least these last two movies Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider Man 2099. Miguel is honestly to me the perfect opposition for Spider Man in general. While Miguel is a person, he embodies everything Spider Man is not meant to be. Miguel even takes it upon himself to decide what makes Spider Man Spider Man. This makes him believe that he is the only one capable of deciding how Spider-Man's story in any universe is supposed to go. However, the reality is that Miguel is the last Spider person who should even be in charge. For one thing, his canon event is kind of a cheat, as he reveals that he broke a universe's canon event by replacing the version of himself that died, and then pretty much became a surrogate father for his other self's daughter, who had no knowledge of her real father's death. I do believe his grief for his variant daughter was genuine, but instead of teaching him how to be a better Spider-Man, it just made him a worse one. Also, due to the fact that this happened outside his main universe, one could argue that Miguel's changed perception of the universe after his variant daughter's death is an anomaly. It's confusing, but I'm sure you guys get what I mean. Comics, am I right? Not to mention that Spider-Man 2099, at least the one portrayed in Across the Spider-Verse, is a textbook example of whom Spider-Man shouldn't be. One factor I think that plays into it is, excuse me, the fact that he's not Peter Parker. Yes, every universe has its own version of Spider-Man, but a majority of them are either Peter Parker or at least share similar pieces of Peter's personality from so far as I've seen in Spider variants in comics. While Peter comes from a typical high school background, Miguel comes from a desolate future filled with endless crime, not to mention that this Spider-Man's powers came from a drug serum, which it looks like he can't stop taking, as evident in a scene with him looking through the various universes in Across the Spider-Verse. Miguel is also a Spider-Man who will not hesitate to kill. While most Spider variants believe in second chances and redemption, there was a scene in Across the Spider-Verse where it looked like Miguel was going to kill the variant version of the Vulture that invaded Gwen's universe via a bite to the neck. Another thing about Miguel that I'm not sure if anyone noticed in the film is that he's a bit manipulative. When it comes to the members of the Spider Society, hardly anyone even questions Miguel's way of protecting the multiverse. Even if he's right, Peter would not be the kind of person to just agree with letting people die for the sake of there being a Spider-Man. That's not the kind of person Peter is. So this gives me the impression that Miguel kind of manipulates these Spider people's moral compass, making them feel like the bad guys for just wanting to do the right thing. But anyway, back to the main point of this video. I believe Act 1 of Miguel's character arc in the upcoming Beyond the Spider-Verse will be him beginning to go off the deep end and slowly become unhinged. I'm pretty sure after what happened, as well as having to deal with the mutiny of a few Spider Society members, Miguel would definitely begin to become unstable. Act 2 of his character arc, I believe, will be Miguel deciding that Miles and the Spot have become too big of a threat to the multiverse, and decides that they should both die, finally cementing how much of an opposite to Spider-Man he is. Finally, I believe that part of the way to prevent the canon event from destroying Miles' universe will be by Miguel sacrificing himself, making amends from all the damage he's done for the sake of the multiverse after a final battle between him and Miles. I truly think Miguel will be the true final villain of the trilogy because he represents more than a threat to who Spider-Man is as a hero uh, than how the Spot is a simple threat to the multiverse. At the end of the day, this is all just speculation. I highly doubt most of what I just mentioned will happen in the film, but I'm at least 20% confident that some of these concepts will make it into the film, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for this story next. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and put down in the comment section below on what kind of video you guys think I should do next, as I'm open to suggestions since I'm just starting to get this channel off the ground and attempt to become a full-time YouTuber. With all that said and done, I'm JT Anime, and I'll check you guys later.